today we're going to talk about the invisible army. Have you ever wondered what an invisible army is? Well, in the Bible it talks about an invisible army, and we're going to tell you. Let's just recap about Elisha. He's now the man of God. He's taken over from the prophet Elijah. So this time he is a prophet which God uses to teach and to reach the people for him. Just a normal man who God saved and God is now using. Didn't look like much, didn't act like much, but had a heart for God, and that's all God really wants, is a heart for him. And he was able to do miracles, twice more miracles than Elijah before him. For example, the time whenever the fresh water was salty and they couldn't use it to drink or to water their plants, Elisha unusually gets a big pot of salt and pours it in, and it becomes fresh water. Remember, all the children were mocking him, 42 children, because he told the people Elijah went to heaven in a chariot of fire, and they were mocking him and calling him names. And he said, if you do that one more time, the bears will come out and chase you. And that's exactly what happened. And 42 children were destroyed that day because they were mocking Elisha. Then remember the woman, the widow of 2 sons. She had no money to pay her debts. The debtors were going to take her 2 sons and sell them as slaves, and she cried her heart out. Then a miracle of the oil and getting the oil back into the pots to sell to get her money back. Wonderful miracle of God. So here was Elisha, and then something happened. Elisha was so used to God, he was able to advise his own king, the king of Israel, whenever an enemy was going to attack. God would speak to Elisha, and Elisha would go to the king and say, the enemy is coming from the north, the south, the east, or the west. From all these places, he was able to tell them this is what was going to happen. And in fact, the enemy king became so angry every time they went to attack. They wonder, who is telling the king? Because they always seem to have a guard. They always seem to be ready for us. And there's no way they can know what we're planning. And the word came through. It was Elisha, the prophet, the man of God. He is telling the king what's happening. So the king said, we need to get our army, and we need to find this man of God, the man of Israel, and we need to kill him. Then we'll attack the country. So here was Elisha living in this little house. And one morning, his servant woke up, and he looked outside, and he saw all these soldiers round about surrounding the house. Tens of thousands of soldiers. And he felt, and he knew that they were coming to attack and to kill Elisha. He was so afraid. Elisha, wake up, wake up, wake up. They're coming to attack us. We're going to die. They've got their bows, their arrows, their spears, and they're going to kill us. Elisha never panicked. Why did he not panic? He said to the servant, have they stopped marching? Yes. And he took him outside. He said, do you see anything? No, I can see enemy all around us. He said, look up in the sky. Can you see anything? No. Then the Lord opened his eyes, and there in the sky he saw an invisible army. God sent an army of horses and angels to surround the home of Elisha. God was protecting him. And the enemy saw this here, and the enemy could not go one step further, or they would be killed on the spot. So while Elisha sat there alone, he didn't need an army, he didn't need a spear, he didn't need a sword, he didn't need any weapons, because God had his hand upon him and his servant. God was protecting him. Likewise, God protects us. When a person becomes a Christian, God sends his angels, and each person is the guardian angel to protect us. When there's danger all around us, God says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. He guards us, he protects us, he looks after us, he provides for us. Without being a Christian, who protects you? You can't say it's God, because you're not a child of God if you're not saved. See, the world wants to claim all the benefits of the Christian life, all the benefits that God gives, but they can't claim because you're strangers to God. God doesn't know you unless you're saved and one of his children. God knew Elisha. That's why the Lord was looking after and protecting him. And God used this man to be just one person who protected his country because he was willing to be used by God. Are you willing to be used by God?